It is almost 3 years since the 2011 Great East Japan earthquake. Today, we have invited Mr. Kosuke Motani, Chief Senior Economist of the Japan Research Institute, who is going to share his view on the issue of economic recovery in the disaster-stricken area. As for the CV of Mr. Motani, please refer to the profile that has been distributed to you. And today's briefing is conducted in English only. Before we listen to what Mr. Motani has to say, please do not forget to turn your cell phones to the silent mode. So then, Mr. Motani, please.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Motani from Japan Research Institute, and thank you very much for attending this meeting. And also, I really appreciate your concern to the those areas attacked and affected by the Great East Japan earthquake. It's almost third anniversary since that earthquake, and most Japanese are forgetting, or maybe they are trying to forget about that incident. But I believe many of you are eagerly visiting the area attacked by tsunami, and also are suffering still from the nuclear power station accident. Then I hope you will share the same viewpoint. You are standing on the same viewpoint, similar viewpoint of mine, that I'm always observing things from the bottom, from the ground, not from the seal or not from the theory. I always observe the reality. Reality is so complex, but I always try to capture the reality through observing many small facts. And also, I respect some basic figure of statistics, not a macro estimates, but a real figure, for example, or demographic figures. Then I observe things and check those figures, and I always have some different opinion from most other Japanese, or maybe different from you. And I don't really I don't watch TV. Almost at all. I sometimes appear on TV, but it sounds very, maybe somehow insulting to many people on TV. But the time I appeared on TV is longer than I watch TV. I mean, I don't watch, I don't read. I don't read newspapers so much. I don't buy books. I don't listen to radio. I don't check internet so often. So what is the source of my information? Well, I know quite a lot of people everywhere, especially in Japan. And I always try to catch the initial information rather than modified one through somebody else's mind. And I walk around. I'm the most knowledgeable person about Japanese geography compared to any other person in history. It sounds like exaggeration, but thanks to the modern technology, I really have so many huge experiences everywhere. And today I'm going to talk about my view. And of course, it's different from the view of the Japan Research Institute. I'm talking as an individual who had some commitment to those areas, and also as well as Japan, as well as world peace. Okay. So for those of you who are already been often to the affected area, this is the picture of the 3 months after the earthquake. So if you were in Japan at that time, you didn't see this. This is the city of Rikuzen Takada. Could you turn the light a little bit? Could you make it a little darker? Is it okay? Rather, I don't want you to watch my face. It's nothing handy. I really want to show you some figures and articles there. Yeah, thank you. Okay, this is the Rikuzen Takada city 3 months after the tsunami attack, and this was the former railroad track, and it was the road crossing over the railroad. And this was the hospital, totally broken down. Tsunami came to this height. And so this was the former railroad track, and this was the station of Rikuzentagara. So this kind of scenery reminded me of Hiroshima Museum, where actually I was from the city near Hiroshima, so I went there quite often, and I saw many pictures of black and white, but it's colored, and exactly the similar scenery. And 97% of the residential area along the coast of this city was attacked by a tsunami with about 15 meters high, and it came to the point that the height was about this. Okay, all those buildings were covered by tsunami, and only roof was safe. And if you see this, you can easily tell how high it was at this. This was the public housing project. And you see, all those windows of the 4th floor were broken down, and 5th floor was okay. It turned out to be okay. So if somebody was in 5th floor, they were safe. If somebody were in 4th floor, they went out, they flew out. Maybe in reality, maybe everybody was on the roof, and they were safe instantly. The tide was very lucky. I mean, we were lucky that that was at the time of low tide. It was, if it were at the time of high tide, maybe the water could come to this level. But anyway, this was a very severe thing. And do you guess how many portion of the population of this small city was killed? How much portion? Do you guess? Was it? So I tell you that 97% of the residential area along the coast was broken down. A city center, shopping zone, very old and the very quiet shopping zone, decayed a city. But anyway, all those are gone. So how much portion of this city, population of this city, died because of tsunami? Do you have any idea? 50. Yeah, if you see those pictures, you might think it's 50. Sure, everybody thought so, and actually, less than 8%. 90%, 92% could survive this. Amazing. It's very amazing, and you should say we were very lucky. Partly because it was the timing of low tide, and if that were the timing of the high tide, maybe the water would be higher, 3 meters higher, and that would kill so many people. But because of some parts, all those buildings were covered by water, but some buildings were taller than 5th floor, then people could survive on the roof, okay? And the other reason, this city is just very near to the mountain hill, so most people who could run to the top above the hill, and that kind of a hill saved people. And why could they have time to run up to the hill? Because the tsunami came 45 minutes after the earthquake. They had 45 minutes, maybe 42 minutes, okay? So the decision they did in between those 42 minutes changed their fate. So our majority of the people actually could run up to this hill. If they reached this height, they were safe. Some people remained on this top of this building, they were safe. Somebody remained here, they all died, okay? And here's the one hotel that's actually bankrupt once, but the building was still there, and it was under operation. Many people rushed into this hotel and went up the stairs, and they all survived too. It's a remaining of the bubble age, as a resort boom, so-called. One singer from this city called Masao Sen had a lot of money at the time, and he invested in to build up this hotel, and he bankrupted, but this hotel remained, and it's saved. Later, it saved a lot of people's life. It just happened. And you see, all those modern thing, but also ancient traditions saved the people. See, the water came to this level, and the house that used to be here is gone. But this house remained. It's green because water came to this level. And those cherry blossom trees were safe. So only a few, less than 1 meter's difference made a big difference. It's amazing. Tsunami is like this, okay? If you were above the line, just 10 centimeters changed your life. And see this. I want to show you this lastly. Are those old ancient, our ancestors know quite a lot about tsunami. Actually, this city has not been hit by tsunami for the last 400 years. In the last 400 years, we had very severe tsunami several times, but this city was safe. It happened to be safe. But this city was hit by tsunami 400 years ago, and they prepared like some place like this. You see, if you see this temple, it looks not so higher than the ground, destroyed ground. Actually, it is not so high, but because of the slight difference of landscape, water does not come directly to this point. It's like there's a slight up of the landscape here, and water flew to avoid this hill. You understand that? It's like a small cape. Very slight difference, just 1 meter's difference, made water go to this right, either right or left. And it's pretty durable place, and they made this 400 years ago. And many residents went up the stairs. If they were not so old to climb up, they could climb up this stairs, then it was okay. And here's cherry blossom, and here's small house, actually temple with no people guard, that people at least can take some rest from rainfall. This kind of thing saved so many people. And after the tsunami, we learned that we knew that our ancestors knew that, and they prepared a lot of refugee places for us. And we should have learned that most of the, not only the temple, but many shrines were also the safe place. It turned out to be safe somehow because of this minor difference of landscape. 400 years ago, and also we had a big one in 1100 years ago. Okay, there were only twice in last 2 millenniums. This was the third one, and they were set a small shrine. Okay, just a small building with no people, to show their descendant that this was the place that the water didn't come somehow. And at that time, people thought it was because of the maybe because of the god or goddess. Okay, but with the science, we learned it's a slight difference of landscape. But anyway, 92% of this city people survived. The worst point of the old town of Ozuchi in Iwate Prefecture, about 10% died, but 90% also survived. So we were so lucky. If it were the midnight of the winter with snowfall, it was not like, it should have not been like this. Maybe several 30 or 40% could have died. So if they were a god or goddess, they are still blessing, or they are still giving us time to prepare for the next one. Actually, this is just the initial saying. Okay, that was 3 years ago. Then today, I quickly say this, and I want to answer your questions. How was the impact of the earthquake to the national economy? It's not issued today, but I have to tell, because there's huge misunderstanding about this. Okay, the conclusion is that the considerably little, very little, compared to the reputation. I mean, there was not so big impact on Japanese economy due to earthquake compared to what they are saying. It's very little. And what was the impact of the earthquake to the regional economy of the affected area? Okay, affected area itself is very small. I mean, area is wide, but the economy there was rather small. And this so impact of the total nation is very small. But how about the people? For the people living who used to live there, okay, the tsunami has revealed problems already existed. They didn't add a new problem. They just revealed. Like tsunami revealed the original soil of the land out of the city application. Also, tsunami has revealed problems already existed before tsunami. And also, we're talking about Fukushima nuclear power station, no resolution for the pollution from Fukushima 1. 1 is the nuclear power station 1. There's also 2, Fukushima 2, that was not broken. But Fukushima 1 had 6 nuclear power plants, and 3 out of 6 were broken down and all were under operation and broken down. And 1 out of 6 were not under operation. It was also nearly broken down. Only 2 were safe. But anyway, Fukushima 1 made a lot of pollution, and there's no resolution so far. And what factors slow the reconstruction, as you observe? So I wanted to, the reason why I showed you picture, because if you see the city, go to this Rikuzen Takada city today, maybe you don't see so big difference. Maybe you don't see those broken buildings. You don't see those broken materials, but you just see flat land. And there's no reconstruction in progress. Or maybe you may think so. And you may feel that it's already 3 years from tsunami. Where is the reconstruction process going on? And what factors slow the reconstruction? Well, the largest factor is inertia from past demographic economic growth. What's that? Well, they are making bad plans to reconstruct because of the inertia from past demographic economic growth. I want to explain a little bit with the figures. Then both national and regional bureaucracy, not only national but also regional too, but national is severe. And third, this is a point very important, and it's not told outside Japan because Japanese people themselves don't understand, don't notice what's going on there. Okay, and if you don't know Japan, of course you don't know. I'm not sure, but if you're a professional researcher about Japan's land ownership system, you don't know this. Traditional, too much respect to land ownership. Very, very deep thing on the history, rooted in history. Japan maybe has the most huge amount of respect to land ownership compared to any other maybe society in the world. I'm not sure. Any other modern society, I guess. And because of such strong land ownerships of very small landholders, that is the largest hazard to the reconstruction. And whatever happens, the same thing happens wherever in Japan next time, we will have this same problem with maybe large magnitude, because if there is more population, the area hit, then we will have hugely more same problem. Last, will Japan survive the next great earthquake? When will the next great earthquake hit? Maybe while you are here. Maybe you don't like it if you're especially you're from Europe. Don't worry. It's a lot better to get earthquake meet earthquake in Japan rather than any other country. You will be okay. If you were in Rikuzen Takada city at that time, you're 92% okay. I mean, we are most resistant country in the world against earthquake. So be comfortable here and don't go to Lisbon. I don't know, not Lisbon next time maybe. But if you're in London, it's hit by very minor earthquake. Well, you'll see very, very cruel situation there. But it's okay. There's no problem in Japan. Okay, Japan is in progress toward so-called, I call, calamity-proof society. It's nearly calamity-proof. If we didn't have such foolish Fukushima 1, it was almost perfect, but we are still in progress toward calamity-proof society very slowly, in a pace slower than desired, but faster than other nations. I mean, every year, we're becoming a little more calamity-proof compared to other nations' society. So personally, I hate those actions are just war with the inertia of the past growth and past energy consumption, inertia to just continue the nuclear power station. I hate those, but I believe in our ability to modify this society, nations, to survive the next big earthquake, and we'll survive. If we only were so stupid, given that we are not as stupid as we were, I hope we are becoming a little bit smarter, less stupid than before. Okay, I want to explain this. Maybe you're not interested in so much about Japanese economy, but I have to explain this because it's so misunderstood. Okay, this is the Japanese retail sales. I'm sorry, if maybe you are not the economic journalist, but if you are economic journalist, please take a look at this. It's a gross retail sales in Japan. And why do I show this? I don't show GDP. I don't respect that at all. GDP is the figure that makes you misunderstand about the situation because it's the mixture of the export and the domestic demand sales. I just extract domestic sales of the goods sold in shops and also e-shops. It doesn't include service, but because we don't have actually accurate statistics of the service sales, sector sales. So we calculate GDP with full of assumption, and that's why I don't really trust GDP. But this retail sales is based on very steady research every year, done by every month. Okay, you see this? Before the bubble age, we call it bubble. We had great growth of retail sales. 41 trillion yen. If you are not familiar in yen in trillion, you can just see this $1 million. It's very easy. Okay, $146 million from 105 in 6 years. Then it became flat. So when was the earthquake? Do you guess? When was it? This year? This year? No, earthquake happened this year. You really cannot guess. This was the year of the earthquake because retail sales was not affected at all from the earthquake. No positive impact, no negative impact. So from just this, you can just guess the affection was very minor. This is the personal income tax, gross personal income. I really don't like the ratio. I always see absolute value of the figures because my background is law, not economy. Okay, I really don't trust macroeconomic ways to think. I trust, and also I've been a banker for 20 years. Okay, I made a lot of. I'm the graduate of business school too. I just apply basic manner to discuss about corporate performance to national performance. Okay, this is the sales, and this is the income, and gross income is just flat. It grew so fast before bubble, and it became flat. And when was the year of the earthquake? This year. There was no influence at all. Actually, it increased a little bit. And here's export. Okay. So many of you don't know about this because so many Japanese, including the staffs of current government, never knows how much export we have. Okay. when was the earthquake? They said that many factories stopped operations because of the earthquake, and it severely injured Japanese competitiveness in world trade. Oh, when was it? Oh, here. Okay, our export did not decrease. Oh, well, you can say it decreased a little bit, but if you say it's flat, it did not affect our export. And our export was 1.5 times more compared to the bubble age. It's 30% less compared to the world bubble before Lehman shock. But actually, 63 trillion yen or 63 million US dollars was not low at all. Absolute level of export was record high, except the 3 years before the bubble burst out worldwide. I mean, our capability to export things was not damaged at all. Did you know that? Few Japanese know this. Prime Minister doesn't know this. Why? They don't see the figures. They just watch ratio. They're all, well, can I say, everybody who just see the macro figure looks like, well, please add one word you like. All are. Those are the words that maybe we should not say. All like, they lack the ability to think. Anyway, it was like this. So the impact is very minor, but somehow some crazy people thought maybe our economy is dying and we should increase the monetary base. Well, we did it. After bubble, we tripled our monetary base. It has no effect. I mean, it was nothing to do with real economy. So the direction is contrary to many things. The reality is that our monetary base has nothing to do with Japanese economy in the last 20 years. And this is the mechanical truth. Nobody can deny this. I believe, or you should believe, that our statistics of this kind of thing is pretty accurate, or very accurate. So it's totally against the theory, but Japan is the country against the theory. Even with that height of tsunami, 92% of Rikuzen Takara City citizens survived. And even this kind of action like export increase and monetary base increase did not increase the domestic retail sales, and export decline did not affect at all to the national sales. It has nothing to do with those. And our number of jobs. Okay, this was the age of the earthquake. And number of jobs. How many people living in Japan are working, including foreign people? We have only 2 million foreign population here, so it does not change the results so much. But anyway, our number of those who have jobs, including part-time jobs, is decreasing. Or you can say it's flat. And actually retail sales and the number of jobs are flat, and the earthquake did not affect at all this time too, because the number of jobs inside Japan did not increase, did not decrease. I mean, it's about the same. So you can say it's very, very stable society, or you can say it's a stubborn society. It's like a very old person who never changed his mind. Yes. This is the matured economy. And all of you, please believe your country is going to be like this too. If you succeed to do this. If you fail, you'll see the mess. You lose your growth, but you can be stable, like Japan. Amazing. And then Abenomics came. Okay, you see this change. I want add year 2013, okay? Could you see, please, at the right side of this figure? This was the result of the Abenomics. I mean, not a result, but the midterm review of the Abenomics. He increased the monetary base. in the yearly average in 2013 was 163 trillion yen or 163 million US dollar. And now actually it's more than 200. Then how did it change anything? Well, retail sales stays increase a little bit, but it's just actually increasing levels. The pace actually turned down. And job increased slightly, but also it's about the same. And because the yen depreciation caused by this, our import increased, not in terms of the amount, but in terms of the price. Our import increased by 11 trillion yen, 11 US million dollars, and export increased to 6 million. Then our deficit increased. That's a very rational, well forecasted result of Abenomics. So who praised this? I don't know. What they're saying about Japanese economy, I don't mind. I just say they don't watch these figures. They don't see sales, internal sales, outside sales. They don't see the cost. They don't see the number of job. What they're saying? Well, they just watch GDP, production level, price index. Those have little to do with this concrete figures. Okay. Before Abenomics and after Abenomics, the situation is the same. That our retail sales are increasing gradually. Number of jobs not decreasing, even though under decreasing population. The only problem is the energy cost we are paying because our import increased by 11 trillion yen. 3 out of those 11 due to our higher price for oil and gas. 8 out of the others are just due to the price rise of all the other goods that we import. And depreciation made us to import something with more money. And of course, export will not increase because it's already higher. Okay, 7 trillion yen exports, a record high compared to most of the Japan's history. That's the highest level, except the Lehman bubble. So it's very difficult to make it even higher. We are very competitive. If you don't know that, you don't see the figure. We are the largest exporter of all devices and high-tech materials to Samsung and all the other high-tech producers, okay? Maybe you just watch the electricity machines in the cars now. We are producing devices, parts, materials. We have the most competitive country about producing those high-tech parts. And also we are exporting robots too. So anyway, that's the first one. I'm sorry I talked too much, but first thing, okay, as you see, actually the considerably little compared to the rotation was the earthquake impact to the national economy. Now, what was the original? Okay, they revealed very severe problems that had already existed before tsunami. And as you know, so what was the problem? Okay, that's the same thing can say the same severe problem already existed word like this. Inertia from past demographic economic growth. This was the severe problems already existed. Both national and regional bureaucracy. Also, this was the problem already had existed. And traditional too much respect to land ownership. Those were actually the real problems that already existed. Then I have to tell you with some figure. Okay, for example, have you ever visited the city of Kamaishi? Does anybody have visited Kamaishi city? Thank you. It wasn't very far from Tokyo. I once, went there for one day. I mean, I went there and returned in one day. That was very tiresome thing. It's like moving from New York to Washington and returning in one day. I'm just teasing because it's so inconvenient to move around the United States nowadays. But Kamaishi city is there. And it's an industrial city. It used to be, or it is still, because these are factories, okay?
Nippon Steel factories, there used to be a steel mine 100 years ago inside upside mountain. Still they have facilities there, and also there are some small, not small, but medium size or very high-tech machinery companies located in this city. And actually tsunami came, but those main part of the factory was not attacked, okay? So it's still under operation. And the main product of the city was one of the machinery to produce something, and also the other is the steel coat, that so-called steel coat. The steel used to make radial tires, okay? Without the production of this city, many car operation will stop in the world because they cannot really get the tire. You understand that? Then what is going on? What has been going on Kamaishi City before the earthquake? Okay, this was the Kamaishi City's performance in terms of the manufacturing industry in Kamaishi City. Okay, what were those? Okay, this was the year of when the yen appreciation started. This was the year of the Plaza Agreement. And before this, throughout this year, the yen to dollar currency rate was 270 yen for $1. Okay, 270. And year 2010, 1 year before the earthquake, $1 US dollar was $90. Okay, 270 to 90. Very great yen appreciation progressed in these 25 years. Then what happened to the manufacturing in Kamaishi City that are largely producing those wires used for making tires and also some of the machineries, okay? Gross sales of all factories located in this city actually increased a little bit, or you can say it's flat. But 1 year before the earthquake, actually this figure was the record highest throughout history. And do you know what happened to the population of this city? Okay, I don't show the population. Population, more than 60,000 at this time, and less than 40,000 this time. Actually, population has just decreased to exactly 2/3 in the last 25 years. And 2/3 population produced the same or even more level of products because of the modernization, automation, and you see this number of those employed in those factories, okay, not only the whole population but the number who are working in factories actually became 2/3. So 2/3 people are now making more products. That means their productivity went up more than 50%. So this was something already occurring before the tsunami in those areas. And not only in this case, but some other cement manufacturers or some other steel manufacturers in some other cities, they had the same situation. Okay, many people criticize Japan that we have low productivity. No, it's going up so fast. Then, how do you guess? How is the city's economy of the city itself? Is it good or bad? Of course, it's very bad because only 2/3 compared to 25 years ago are working and earning money inside the factories. And because of that, the total population coincidentally decreased to 2/3, and many shops gone. They don't drink. The economy is very depressed. It's like a dying city with very vital factories. Okay, it's not only in Kamaishi, but actually total Japan. Whole Japan is the same situation. Okay, our gross sales actually increased compared to the yen appreciation, before yen appreciation. And value added is not so high because the number of those employed decreased by 30%, and our labor productivity increased by 1.5 times more. And we survived world competition, but having factories does not provide so much fruit to the regional economy. That has been very obvious in the last 20 years. And when you meet somebody like, for example, those who are criticizing me directly, like who else? I'm sorry, I forgot the name. Maybe he get angry that if I forget his name, but I forgot it. But if you just ask to somebody who is called to be a brain of Abe, they never understand. They never hit up on these kind of things are happening in Japan in the last 20 years. They had so many chances to notice this in the last 20 years, but they have never visited on site. They have never seen real factory. They've never worked in those facilities. They just read textbook written 200 years ago. At the time, there's no machinery, no robots on the world. It's so stupid. So more production does not mean more job in Japan, of course. That's why this kind of thing happens. See, as I showed you already, our number of job employed just flat. No change because of the increasing export or decreasing export, because we are now producing more robots than in any other country. If you have more export, we buy more robots, and if you export decreased, we just stop them. So it has no effect over number of job. That was the problem of the real already existed. And they say now the economy of the region affected by tsunami is severely damaged by the earthquake. No, actually, the population has been decreasing so fast, and the industry was very healthy there. I just showed you a figure of the manufacturing, but also fishery too. Not all the fishery, but the main part of the most productive part of the fishery in that area was and will be production of the scallop and also our oysters and also our abalone, and some other seaweeds. All those production, they grow them inside under the water, and that was very profitable with very high productivity that they didn't hire so many people. So the fishery was actually prospering. That was the largest export sector in that region, and will recover. But our number of jobs they produce is very limited. So most people living there was just working as non-profitable small farmer, small fisherman, or smaller public servant, or maybe just a labor to construction labor. And after the earthquake, all construction stopped for a while, and they left. And actually, those workers working for that big factories and also were doing some profitable fishery returned already. But total number of them, maybe 1/10 of the former resident. That's why it looks like as if they were not reconstructed. You understand that? And the huge problem of the inertia from past economic growth. What I'm saying, past economic growth meant the increase of number of jobs. Current economic growth does not mean increase of job. Okay? And another thing, demographic growth. What is the demographic growth? Please take a look at this figure. Okay. This is the population. Very easy table or figure. The population of the Rikuzen Takata city that I already showed you. Okay, the population of the city has been decreasing in many last 40 years, I think, or 35 years. And it was more than 30,000, or maybe year 1970, but it became, the number of the people decreased a bit more and more because the main industry in this city was fishery with the abalone growing. And it was very profitable, but very limited number of people could commit to that job. And most of the other people are just, public servants and the construction workers and the small peasants are getting money maybe from their pensions. And 1/3 of the residents were and still will be, seniors, okay? Then here's the tsunami hit, okay? And projection made in before tsunami. Okay, it's same institution as making projection, and it's free to get from the internet. Projection done in 2007 showed this change, and projection made after earthquake just counted the decrease, sudden decrease because of the death. Then they just made some other projection, but both says that their population will be less than 2,000, actually become half in next 20 years compared to the maximum point. Then the problem is that the Rikuzen Takada city has a plan to reconstruct their city on the empty land with the capacity for 25,000 people. So huge overbuilding are already in progress in Rikuzen Takada. I mean, they are making a lot of lands for nobody with huge amount of taxes. And actually, Democrat GPJ government's minister are tried to persuade them not to make such huge things because it's already been decreasing. And if you have capacity for 25,000 people, they will not return to the city because it's not a matter of the capacity of the land that they leave the city, but it's a matter of our limit of the industry that is increasing its productivity, that it doesn't provide jobs. Well, they don't listen. They don't listen. And also LDP never listens because they have been making money out of those actions that overproducing capacity for land. And that has been making a lot of money throughout Japan's history. Or this is whole Japan. Only 20 years ago, until 20 years ago, our working age population has been increasing so fast. So we're preparing for new lands for newcomers. New entrance to the rural world was a very profitable business. Land price is going up. But since 20 years ago, it has decreased already, and it will decrease too. Then we don't need such huge land at all. Everywhere in Japan, we don't need it. In Tokyo, we don't need it. But they are still making so many residential buildings here too. And then Rikuzen Takada people thought, Tokyos are doing the same. Why not we can do the same to attract more people to come? It's an inertia of the age of demographic growth. You understand that? Okay, I should quick up, get your question quickly. Then, so one thing I should add is that what is this? Bureaucracy. You know that. I don't add, but well, it's different from the bureaucracy in China. Okay, it's not corrupted. I'm sorry. I'm not saying that China is already corrupted, but okay, they are too honest, too loyal to our stupid rules. It's a very Eastern Japan thing. Maybe Germany, I guess, have some kind of similar thing, or maybe France people can criticize German people like so strict to the rules, and I'm sure it's like a tendency, very traditional tendency of Northeast people. They obey rule. They don't panic. They don't rob, as you saw on TV. It's so different in Western Japan. So please expect something different when Western Japan will gonna hit by our next another tsunami. A little more dirty thing will happen too, I think. But anyway, it's bureaucracy, and also our reconstruction agency locates in Tokyo, not in Tohoku, is making a lot of problems. But why they are in Tokyo? Because they have to negotiate to get budget with every ministry. And then for them, it's rational, more rational to be in Tokyo rather than in Sendai, because if they were in Sendai, they should commute every day to Tokyo to just get to negotiate to get budget. It sounds so ridiculous, but it's a reality in Japan. And what is the traditional too much respect to land ownership? Okay, what happened in Japan so far? Okay, having land was a privilege. You see, please take a look at this. Oh, this is 90, 40, 50. I think this is the most exciting part of my presentation, so please don't miss this. Please watch it. Okay, everybody watching this? Isn't it very exciting or just so dull? I'm not sure. Okay, Japan before the war, right after the war, and currently like this. 50 years later, what's happening? Okay, Japanese people don't die until they die. And when they die, they are very old. Okay, so we used to have a lot of babies. Now we had a lot of middle-aged people. Now we have so many young seniors. We'll have huge late seniors. And what happens when you live this time? Okay, our waking age capital as population 43 million, only 43. It became 87, doubled right after the war. What happens if you have land? Okay, more and more new people come in to ask you to sell your land for very expensive price. You could earn huge amount of money if you had land at that time. Okay, in Japan, land is a personal property. Very limited area of the land is owned by the government or some other public things. All private. I think it's last 1,300 years, okay, our land has been private. Mostly owned by peasant, not by big landholders. Do you understand that? It's a traditional thing. Very different from other area like China or UK. Most land has been owned by small individuals throughout history, and many of them could make a lot of money through the demographic growth. Then they still have the same land under decreasing working age population. Some stupid mentalist tried to persuade them that, well, your land price will go up as long as the BOJ will publish the bills. It never happens because we don't have demand. It's a very basic thing that if you have less demand, price will fall down. Monetary supply has nothing to do with it. Then our land price is not going down, but currently we have so many landholders with just some kind of desire, greediness, but no idea to just utilize that land. So if you want to develop so the whole flat places along the coast was broken down, then you need some more hilly places to develop new housing project. So hilly areas already owned by hundreds of small landowners. They all say different things, and they require much more amount of money compared to the real economic value because of the inertia of the past. But that's okay. Nearly half of the landowner says, no, I don't want to sell it. Why? Isn't it a big business for you? No, I don't want to sell. Because why? I want to continue to be a landowner. What is that for you? Will that make money? This will be the last chance for you. No, I don't listen to you. Having land is my identity. I don't want to be one without real estate. It's very strong mind of Japanese peasants for last 1,300 years. Okay, Japanese Edo period, feudal samurai age, you don't know that. It's different from European Middle Age. Okay, even at that time too, each peasant had their land. After Meiji, it has been consolidated to some rich, super rich landholders, but throughout the Edo period, it was owned by small peasants. So it's their nature mind. So that's why we are almost failing everywhere to prepare for new housing because of the land ownership. Maybe you don't know about this, but if you just ask everybody, they don't even notice that because it's very natural in Japan. So most Japanese don't know about that even. I mean, most Japanese think, just expect, even when they visit the desert country, they just expect the water flows on the ground. It's like that. So having land ownership, and it's a hazard for everything, is just the normal common sense in Japan, so they don't point it out. Well, this is the largest hazard, and we should actually change the law to decrease the amount of freedom of landowners, or let them give up some part of their right. We should change the legal system before the next earthquake comes. Or, ironically, maybe we will change after next earthquake, I think. Okay, I'm running up time, and I'm welcome to have a question, so I finish. I don't explain so much about the next one, last one. Any questions, please?
Thank you for your presentation, very illuminating. My name is Stefano Carrer from the Italian Economic Daily. We just went, a group of journalists, to the Iwate, and we were impressed also by, many people told us that there is one of the big problems slowing reconstruction is labor shortage. So there is not enough people in the construction sector. And but the governor, Tasso, told us that he spoke with the construction companies in Iwate, and the people said, they seem to accept this situation because they don't want, they said that they don't need foreign workers because probably they think there will be much more a problem to manage and deal with foreign workers. So I'm coming from a country like Italy where most construction workers now are foreigners from Albania, Eastern Europe, or North Africa. So I wonder that if with the Olympic Games also there will be a construction boom in Tokyo, and the big company would prefer working in Tokyo, that is much more profitable. So probably the reconstruction efforts will be slowed also for the fact that foreign workers will not come. Or what do you think about this issue?
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, this is the figure written by Japanese, but as I already showed you the same thing for the whole nation, I just add, this is the current situation in Rikuzen Takada City, okay? Rikuzen Takada City, 6 months before the earthquake, we had a national census 6 months before, and this was the exact figure at that time of the city. Majority of the city citizens was the 60s. And they had only half of those are 30s, and about 1/3 of 20s. So this was the situation. So if they want to have or get more construction workers, it's very difficult because most of the young people had already left the city, except those lucky ones to get some job for fishery and public servants and the small construction process things, and almost all people went out the city. So that's why they now lack the manpower to reconstruct things. And they had a lot of seniors here, and they are actually making some money, but most of them are not so suffering so much from the money shortage. You know why? Because we have so huge private savings in general. If you are seniors, you had a lot of chances to get money. And those young people don't have money, already went out. And this is Rikuzen Takada. So what's happening in Tokyo? Maybe you don't know that. Actually, we don't have young people either in Tokyo, because the working age population in Tokyo metropolitan area has been already decreasing, and most Japanese don't know, so they don't tell you this. They don't watch, they don't look up the figure, absolute figure, but in reality, whole Japan, including Tokyo, is now losing working age population, so that's why we lack the manpower. I want to show you some figure of the Tokyo metropolitan area. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. But not only Japan, but also our whole world is now facing similar problem. It's different from Europe. It's Japan, okay? This is Taiwan. I'm saying that they're going to see a real rapid decrease of the working age population in a few years. Singapore, they welcome foreigners, but still they want to see the decrease. Why? Because the former young foreigners will become senior foreigners. Korea, they will see very fast decrease. I mean, we don't have Albania actually at all. That's one big difference. Only North Korea, but they don't have, it's closed. Even China, see? The situation in East Asia is so different from your country. Very different from the United States. You have Mexico, and also United States, inside it, you have Mexico too. East Asia, we are now under decreasing working age population, and we know it will not be a resolution unless we welcome our Muslim people. It's okay, but we have no prejudice against Muslim, but we have also our fear to any extreme religion. So I'm not saying Muslims are extreme, but we feel uneasy with some people who's very religious and pray every day, several times every day, or those things. Yeah. So actually, you observe many Chinese working here too illegally, but it's still limited because they will lack the people too. And the construction actually it's slowed, yes. But my view is that we should not construct so much if you consider the decrease in population.
Martin Kölling from Germany, Financial Daily Handelsblatt. But the one concern many people have, regardless whether you reconstruct a lot or not so much, is that basically with the focus on the Olympic Games at the latest, basically all the money that so far flows to the Tohoku region might flow to Japan, will flow to the capital, will flow to Tokyo. That the labor that is scarce already in Tohoku will be even more scarce because there will be high demand in Tokyo itself, in the center. Don't you think that this basically relocation of construction to the city, to Tokyo, will slow the little reconstruction that is going on in Tohoku?
Okay, thank you. Actually, I don't think so. Okay, I should alter the conclusion. Compared to more clearly than most Japanese. I don't think so, because the reason I'm not saying that construction workers are in shortage. We are in shortage everywhere. And I'm saying that it's not because of the Olympic game. Actually, Olympic game is very small. If you do that in Sochi, maybe that should be a very big thing. But Tokyo metropolitan areas already have 35 million people. As you know, it's the largest, definitely the largest city in the world. There are so huge constructions everywhere. The Olympic game preparation done in just small part of Japan, just small, very small. And also, thanks to the God, our public sector does not have money so much. So it's far limited compared to all those private constructions done by our private companies before the sales tax raise, the consumption tax raise. You understand that? In last year in Tokyo area, we had so huge number of constructions of small apartment housing, small or large, and that was actually the big factor to or severe make it this labor shortage more severe. But after the consumption tax raise, maybe the situation will be different. I think our less construction will go on afterwards maybe in a few years. And the real problem is that the other thing is that if we will increase the construction sector for the Olympic game and the reconstruction, then we will be in trouble. Several years after that, they try to make some new constructions using public money, and that will be actually a worse thing for us. So we should bear current situation. That's my opinion. You understand that? You understand what I mean? The construction for Olympic game in the Tokyo itself is temporary and rather small. Construction for Olympic game is very small compared to our construction done before the consumption tax rise. So next year or this year, after April, the situation will change a bit, I think. But what if the next earthquake comes before the Olympic game? Then we'll have severe shortage, I'm sure. I'm sorry. But because of the decreasing population, and actually every people are relatively richer compared to any other countries, then you should see those homeless people here. Actually, when they go to Tohoku, they have jobs. Instantly they can get jobs, but they still are here bearing with this cold weather. Why? Well, they lack motivation to get money. Or all the people other than those people are already in Tohoku. This kind of situations will continue.
Thank you. My name is Joël Lejean. I'm from France, actually, and I reassure you we are very friends with the Germans. There's no problem about it. My question is about the reconstruction, of course, but well, first of all, I haven't heard the word contamination. When you talk about Fukushima, you talk about pollution. I don't know, maybe I missed some words, but I'd like to see in your opinion, do you see any politicians who really have a master plan, a design to do something for the Tohoku reconstruction? Do you think Abe in his Abenomics is really actually doing something for the Tohoku people who, how many, 100,000 people are still without homes and expectations of normal life? So do you see in Japan someone beyond Abe who can really propose some sort of reconstruction plan that we could have within 1 year something more optimistic than what we see when we go and report there these days?
Those people who had to leave their house, those 150,000 people still not there on the home. They mean the Fukushima people. And do I know any politicians who have plans how to deal with those people, or to support them their way to live? Okay. I was pretty close to those politicians right after the war, and because DPJ government just nominated ordered me to be a member of the committee at that time, and I'm not so good with Abe, although I'm from Yamaguchi Prefecture. I don't know so much about the current politicians' action, but I know many individually. Okay, then there are a lot of politicians, so many politicians with goodwill to do something for them as much as they can do. There are a lot of those politicians, but I don't think there's only one politician who have general plan or concrete plan to what to do with this. There are some it's always historically a Japanese problem. We have tactics, but we don't have strategy. That is always the problem of Japan in the last war too. We have tactics, and we have maybe some means to do that, but we don't have strategy. And some politicians thought that we should have built new cities for those refugees near Iwaki City, either in Iwaki or either in Minami Soma. There are plenty of lands for them to let them live just near their hometown here. But so far, it's not done at all. And largely because, for example, Iwaki is a good place to build up such new cities. Former residents of Iwaki cities don't think good about those refugee people because some of them get money out of the compensation money, and they don't get it. It's kind of envy things. And also a land, if they wanted to build up such huge new residential area, you have to spend huge amount of money just to buy land. And that's kind of, or it simply takes huge amount of time to prepare the land for such big city. Then all of them just gave up the idea, making general plan and building new cities, and they just let the people go wherever they want to go. And it looks like there's no master plan what to do. And also, the other thing is that some people argue that you should get rid of those contamination by your own action, what we call josen. If you wash it out, then the radioactivity will go away. And some people believed that those washing will work. And then they just stop their action and thinking until the washing is done. Then they wasted 3 years, I think. Do you agree to that? But what's going to happen to these lands in the future? Okay. Largest risk factors. What are we going to do with this broken nuclear power station was full of contaminated materials? Well, that's a big problem. But most of the other part of the land that is now without residents in next 10 or 20 years, I believe it will be land to live. I mean, the contamination, large part of contamination will go out in next 10 or 20 years. Why can I say that? Well, compared to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that were polluted far more severely. After 10 years in Hiroshima, people lived there. And 30 years after Hiroshima bombing, the professional baseball team located in Hiroshima won the national prize. I was a elementary school student just near Hiroshima. It was a big festival. Nobody was arguing about the influence of the atomic bombing at that time. Actually, there was in maybe after 10 years, but afterwards, somehow the radioactivity went away, largely because of the heavy rainfall in Japan, I think. So many parts just contaminated by the temporary radioactivity will be a safer land in next 1 or 2 decades, I believe. But the problem is this area just near to the Fukushima site, and there's a problem of this polluted materials remain to be there. So it's like people just leave it and they just let it go, come back in next 1 or 2 or 3 decades. Actually, the incidents with no plan, but the cure process with no plan will occur. I'm sure. I mean, am I answering, or is it okay? Okay. Yeah. She was faster. Sorry. Rainfall in Japan is a lot more than compared to Ukraine. That's a big difference. Please. Okay, so she's not a member, so she's faster. Okay.
Any press members? Yeah.
Hi, Eric Slavin with Stars and Stripes. You've illustrated a lot of the problems with the economy and mentioned that a lot of these were happening before the tsunami, and I'm just curious, in your opinion, what should be done differently than is being done now in order to spur not only jobs but better jobs and more industry and more forward-thinking industry that employs more people in the Tohoku region.
Okay. So in Sendai City, there are some kind of that actions, yes, but in Sanriku area like Rikusen, Takada, and Ishinomaki, they have a big handicapped area with the bad traffic and also a very small regional market for anything. So they rely on export sector. I mean, export means not only to the international export, but also to export to Tokyo. So the competitive goods they can produce is some materials like steel, those, and cements, and all the others are fishery products and some agricultural products. And unfortunately, those products don't require so much human labors. That's why it's inevitable for them to have with less population compared to before. And if they were not for earthquake, they would already have it was their fate to have that they will have a lot less population without earthquake. So it's pretty difficult for me or for them to prepare for a new some special dream industry to let them live there. But I personally believe those fishery people should sell their products for a lot higher price because the quality is very good. So far nuclear contaminations rumor, actually the water flows down on the coast, along the coast in that part of Japan, so water actually contamination is not coming up, but actually it's actually going to United States, to direction to the United States or toward the Tokyo. But anyway, those bad rumor about the nuclear power station contamination are now preventing them to sell the product for higher price. But I hope in next 1 decade they establish the very high brand again, so they can just produce the top quality of scallops and the oysters and the abalones and also a shark fin too. And I want to see them producing more job than before because they can sell them for they can make it more value added industry. So that we should support to that direction. But it's impossible to regain the same number of population again. That's my view. Is that okay?
Any foreign press members? Yeah, lady.
Miwa Suzuki from AFP, and I'm actually from Ishinomaki. And whenever I go back to my hometown, I see a lot of senior people who are living in temporary housings, either drinking or spending or killing their time at pachinko parlors. And I see more and more neighbors, my former neighbors, are falling sick or are going senile. So the pace is so fast. And is there anything that we could do or should the government do to improve the situation?
Thank you. Yes, they don't have enough money or motivation to rebuild their own community, and they rather choose to stay in the temporary housing, and they are trying to spend the rest of the time and money, and they lack motivation. They don't have hope. Okay, not only government, not the government, but many social workers or also architects, social architects, I would say in Japan, many architects are interested in social things. So they try to make corporate housing, those things, and the cooperative housings, and to that, or facilitate people's communication or something. Those kind of people are flowing into the land area to or try their own experiment to rebuild the community. And in some part, they're succeeding actually, but main part are number of those people, social workers, are still limited. And Isinomaki was the city most severely hit. Are you from which part? Main city?
Yeah, the
Watanoha. Okay, so near Onagawa. So there's Oshika and Onagawa, Watanoha and Ogatsu was the most severe, part of the city, and also it's near to the city. So if you go to more remote area, they don't have pachinko parlor so much, and they have to reconstruct. But the Watanoha is actually near city center rather, and they have a lot of pachinko parlor too. Then so they become like hopeless people, and so far the city itself is so small, and they have lacked manpower, and also the hospital system was broken down too. They are now reconstructing it. Maybe medical people will go into that community to make it a little better, but so far it's just neglected. Well, if you leave that, then we'll have more and more sick old people that will make the medical price so high in that region. So they will do some kind of action there. In the near future, but not in last 3 years, they didn't have room or time or money or manpower to do that. So it's making the situation worse. I'm sure. I'm sorry about that. And I believe that's, it's like an ad hoc action that many volunteers and the volunteers going into that region to save that kind of situation, but the manpower and the money is limited. Even though the total amount of their great actions may be the largest throughout Japanese history, the land is so wide. So communities there are so many communities. So maybe Ishinomaki is the worst point, I think. It's too near to the city. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, it's almost time to close this session, but we accept one more question. Any press members? If there are no questions from the press members, embassy representative, yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much for very nice, excellent report. For me, because I'm a scientist, I understand well all things, including radiation item. Of course, my colleagues from French ask you about some details. As for me, we are working with Japan strongly many decades, after Chernobyl and after earthquake, of course. And what do you think about possibility to cooperate more strongly? Because we are cooperating in all levels, including government, parliament, many organizations, scientific organizations. But at the same time, it seems to me it will be possible to increase the level, because many countries, including Belarus, France, the United States, and so on, are ready to help Japan, because Japan is a friendly country for us. And this way it will be possible to do this. What do you think about this?
Well, yes, this is. It was the time for Japan to accept the help of all other part of the world, and we did temporarily. At that time, we were so grateful about those all help and aid from all over the world. But 3 years after that, it's becoming like Japan is more skeptical about the whole outside world, and it's becoming like it's more like we are trying to close a little bit more to the world. It's a kind of mentality, and I personally, I don't know why, because it's a real countryside of the world, very beautiful, nice countryside with nice people, but people are closely minded, are a closed mind. Yeah, yes, but it's like a wave. Now our total atmosphere of the country is going to some kind of this direction, and I will see the difference in the near future. And talking about our neighbor, okay, maybe we're gonna have we should have some action to just if the matter is like human life and the construction of the society, there's no difference of the country. So we still, Japan is ready to help any other country, of course, including Korea, China, and North Korea too, if they were hit by a severe calamity, then we are ready to help them. And I'm sure they are ready to help us too. We should reconstruct, trust each other again before the next earthquake, or through Olympic game, I hope, to carry out the Olympic together, either in winter one in Korea and summer one in Tokyo. That will be very important for us to reconstruct the reunion, friendship. But also I'm sorry, it's so close. The country itself is so close, and it's like land ownership too. Very deeply based tradition of this society, far remote from other part of the world. But I hope we'll see different change gradually. I'm sorry, it's taken a lot of time for Japanese to change, but actually it's changing. Yeah. Am I answering that question, or is it okay?
Okay, now I'd like to close today's session. Thank you very much, Mr. Motani.